Hi everybody, welcome back to That's Debatable. Today I have another story time for you, and this is in-flight horror stories, because I don't know what it is with me in airports and flights. So let's just get into it. So I already told the story about the time that I got stuck in Colombia and also the time that Colombia didn't allow me in the country. So you guys can pretty much see a theme of me in airports. I literally have to like sage myself, put my crystals out before I get on any other flight, any flight in general, just because I'm like, I need this to go well. I need this to go well. And a couple things have happened where it's been a really big struggle for me to get on the flight, but sometimes when I'm on the flight, even then it's like things go wrong. And there was this one specific time that this one was like the lead up of just like, okay, I need to like do some type of cleanse on myself because I was in the Bahamas. And this is the short one, and as opposed to the longer one, this is just to preface why I'm scared to go on flights. But I was on a brand trip to the Bahamas. And I was so excited because obviously, brand trips are so much fun. Like it really is an experience of a lifetime, and they never like, I'm so overwhelmingly grateful to be on them. That's why I don't like to complain. But this one specific time, if I wasn't on a brand trip, I would have acted very differently because we were on our way out, and obviously we're in the Bahamas. It's super hot. Like even before you get on the airplane, the tarmac is outside. So it's not like you have like a waiting area. And you could just feel the heat. And we're sitting on the airplane, and I'm sitting next to one of the people that invited me on the brand trip. So obviously, because like any other work trip, you want to make a good impression. You're not here to like cause a mess. And we're sitting there, and I'm talking to her, I'm chatting with her. And keep in mind, I forget what time our flight was supposed to leave, but let's say our flight was supposed to leave at 3:00. I'm talking to her, it's 3:15. We're sitting in the flight. We've been sitting there for 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, that's not anything unheard of. It just is what it is. Another 15 minutes pass. And now we haven't gotten an update. And I'm starting to feel the heat get into the plane. And I'm like, okay, it's getting really, really hot in here. But that's okay. Again, I'm trying to keep a good mood. I'm like, it is what it is. We have to get there eventually. They already closed the doors down. Like we're gonna leave at one point, maybe within the next 5 minutes. Well, I was wrong, because within the next 5 minutes, over the intercom, we hear, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, we're having a couple issues with our AC system." Obviously, they said it very in like plain terminology, but I'm just gonna say it regularly. We're having an issue with the AC, and one of our engines just isn't turning on, which is what I got from it. So we're just going to like, give us a second. I'm like, okay. They're saying the AC is like slowing down, but that's fine. Like we can't be in the air without AC. Like I don't think that's legal. Like I think it's something within the plane where the air has to circulate itself, and something about that wasn't working. So I'm like, okay, cool, great. Another 5 minutes go. And again, the plane is on. I've never seen this in my life. Next thing you know, I'm in the middle of a conversation and the plane just turns off. Like when an iPhone just shuts down, that's what happened. The plane just boom, 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 powers down. And I'm like, people start like freaking out. They start getting up like, what happened? And again, they go over the intercom. They're like, unfortunately, like the plane just turned off. Like we need somebody to come in to help us basically turn it on. But because it turns on, that means there's no AC in this plane. And I was like, there's no AC in this plane. Okay. It's already a little hot. But I'm like, there's no way that they're going to have us sit here for that long and not give us something. So I see them trying to bring in like fans and stuff into the airplane. When I tell you, we sat in that plane for close to an hour with no air conditioning. And as time went on, oh my God, ew, it's like making my head hurt of how hot it was in there. I have never experienced that, sitting in a plane without air conditioning, which I know sounds like first world problems, but like genuinely, there was people yelling, be like, get me off this plane, because the whole back of my shirt was wet. Like and I don't even sweat like that. Like it takes a lot for me to start sweating, but I literally was like, they were handing out water because people were passing out on this plane, and they're like, get us off the plane. Like, we can't get you off the plane. We're already like disembarked, I guess. So there's nowhere for us to put you outside of this plane. So you just have to sit here and wait for this plane to turn on. Plane turned on. And we're like, oh, everybody's cheering. A little bit of AC's coming through. We have AC for maybe 10 minutes. Boom, the plane turns off again. And then keep in mind, the plane was already starting to move out when we were about to leave. Boom, plane turns off. We're like, oh my God, this is not, and I can feel the person that invited me like kind of being like, oh my God, this is not at all what we planned for. And it's not their fault. Like, I don't know whose fault it is, but it's definitely not the people that invited us to be there. And I am just sitting there holding on to my water, and with everything in me, I'm like, I feel like I'm obviously dehydrated. We went out the night before, so I was like a little hungover. I just felt my body overheating, and I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die on this plane. I'm gonna die on this plane. I'm gonna die on this brand trip, and they're never gonna do brand trips ever again because somebody that they invited just died. So now there's never gonna be brand trips, and it's gonna be my fault. And my legacy is going to be the reason why nobody can go on a brand trip ever again is because I died in an airplane. Like, I was having the biggest panic attack. And everything ended up working out fine. We were all okay. The plane ended up turning on, and we went back to Miami, and we were totally okay. And obviously the brand was super apologetic, and we're like, it's totally fine. It's not your fault. It is what it is. And after that, I was like, I've never experienced such a discomfort on a plane before like that. Like, I genuinely felt like I was in a sauna. Like, I don't think you guys can understand how hot a plane can get if there's no air conditioning in there. So I'm like, it is what it is. It's fine. And I'm talking about it with my friend right before we're going to go to DR. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't understand. Like, there's just like that was such a bad in-flight experience. I never want to experience that ever again. Like, it was so bad. That's probably the worst that it can possibly get. And we're laughing about it. And obviously when you laugh, the universe is like, oh yeah, you want to see something? Sure. Ooh, because then I got on the plane to Dominican Republic. And this was the worst flight. And it made that seem like a piece of cake. Like, even as I'm explaining it, like, yes, I was sweating. Yes, people were passing out on this plane. I probably was this close to passing out if that air conditioning didn't come on within the next like 5 minutes after an hour and a half of being on there. Like, I was doing so bad, but I didn't realize it can get worse until I was flying home from Dominican Republic. Girl. And I posted this story on my TikTok, and a lot of people were mad at me because they wanted me to bug out, but I wanted to take this time to explain why I didn't bug out, because I feel like anybody in the situation probably wouldn't have known what to do. So I'm flying back from DR. We have pretty good seats. Like, I'm like, oh, they upgraded us. Like, I was so through the meeting. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, look, you see when something bad happens, like, something good is meant for you to come. So that's what I thought it was. I was like, we got upgraded. We were in the front of the plane. We're living our best life. And I'm sitting next to my best friend. And my best friend has the window seat. I have the middle seat. And there's another lady sitting at the aisle. And we're boarding the plane. And I look at the lady, and she is a little older. Like, I don't know how old she is, but definitely older. And I look at her. I'm like, obviously, you have to do that weird, awkward, like, excuse me, like, my seat's right there. And then they have to get up, and you have to, like, booty smack them, and like, it's just weird. Like, you're giving them a free lap dance. It's just weird. So I look at the lady and was like, oh, excuse me, like, our 2 seats are right next to yours. And like, she looks at me and looks down, and I'm like, oh, maybe she has to grab her bag off the floor. Maybe she has something. I don't know. Completely ignored me. I gave her like a good like 15-20 seconds until I looked at my friend, and I was like, did I say it loud enough? Like, maybe she just didn't hear me. So I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, I heard you. Oh, you little I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh God, of course I would have to sit next to like this bum ass on this flight. Like, of course. Who else would have to sit next to somebody like that? And I was like, oh, okay. So sorry, I wasn't sure because you didn't move. Like, now I'm being passive aggressive. Now I'm being nasty too. She gets up, she like scoffs up, like gets up, we sit down, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And once I sit down, this like impending smell of doom hits my nostrils. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, it smelled like rotten meat. It smelled like rotten meat. And it smelled like, I didn't even know, like trapo viejo. And that's like, that translates to like old rag. But like, when like you have like a rag and you leave it out and it's wet, and like that smell mixed with like rotten meat. Like, it was just so bad. And I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at my friend. I'm like, girl, what the hell is up with you? Like, is this you? I know it's not me. Like, it smells crazy. Next thing you know, I'm sitting down. We haven't even like, what is that, taken off yet? Yeah, we haven't even taken off. And the lady starts spitting on the floor. Like, and I was like, ooh, yuck. That's disgusting. That's nasty. This is a public plane. This is a plane. Like, okay, that's fine. Totally forgot. I ignore it. I'm like, I'm just going to let it go. And then she has a napkin in her hand and she's spitting in the napkin. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. This is like awkward. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna try to ignore it. I'm gonna try to ignore it. And then the whole time she's like speaking gibberish to herself. I don't understand what she's saying. Like, it sounds like she's like doing some type of seance. And I'm like, okay, I'm weirded out, but I don't know anything. For me at first, I just thought that this was like a dirty ass. Like, I was like, you are so dirty. You have no manners. You have no type of respect. You're just spitting on a plane, just to spit on a plane. Next thing you know, she continues to spit on the floor. And I'm like, and then the people on the opposite aisle are looking at her like, is everything okay? Like, what is happening? And they're looking at me because they think that I know her. And I'm like, I don't know her. I don't know her. I don't know that girl. I don't know that girl at all. That is not my friend. Like, I don't know her. She's not my mom. Like, she's not my grandma. I don't know who that is. So I let her go. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then again, she's like speaking gibberish. She's speaking gibberish. And then she starts spitting on herself. And I'm like, and I look at my friend and I'm like, is everything, am I bugging out? Am I bugging out? Am I the problem? I was like, because she's fully spitting on herself. Like, fully spitting on herself. And right when I think to say something, right when I be like, because right now I'm thinking I'm going to look at her and be like, excuse me, like, you need to stop. Like, you definitely need to stop. I look at my friend and I'm like, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something. Like, this is crazy. And then I think about it. I'm like, wait, what if this is a disability? And I was like, oh my God. What if she has some sort of a disability where, you know, she has to spit, or maybe, I don't know. And like, she's also speaking gibberish to herself, but also I don't see that anybody is around her. But now in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what if she has some sort of disability where like she has to spit, or maybe it's like some sort of like Tourette's, and like, what if I'm the asshole that goes to her and it's like, can you stop? And then they look at me and then she looks at me and goes, no, I have a disability. And now I feel like an asshole on this flight, on this 6-hour flight. Like, I was mortified. I was like, no, she might have a disability. She might have a disability. Like, you never know. Because you really never know. And then, oh my God. And I'm talking to my friend and she's like, well, maybe it is a disability. Like, maybe we shouldn't say anything. Maybe we should tell a flight attendant. And I was like, okay, but if I tell a flight attendant, I'm going to have to tell a flight attendant while I'm right in front of her. Like, that's so awkward and so uncomfortable. Like, she's going to stop. She's going to stop. It's fine. She's going to stop. She didn't stop. We get in the air and I'm trying to sleep and I put my headphones in just to like kind of ignore it. But because, again, I'm a really big germaphobe. I think I spoke about this on the podcast before. Like, I don't even like to sleep in hotel beds. I don't like to use people's cutlery. Like, I'm very anal when it comes to stuff like that. That I can't even like go off in a trance, because every time I take my headphone off, you just hear like the and I'm like, ooh, girl. Ooh, girl, ooh, girl, ooh, girl. I try to ignore it. Then a flight attendant comes over. And they're handing out like sodas. They're obviously when they do in the middle of the flight. And at this point, she's just spitting on herself. And I am so like trying not to be close to her that I'm literally having my friend push up against like the window, because I'm like, Vanessa, you need to move over. Like, I can't sit next to this person, because if she spits on me, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm fully going to have a panic attack. Like, I'm fully going to have a panic attack. Flight attendant comes over. They're handing out sodas, whatever. They offer her soda. She gets something. I don't even know what she gets. She pours it out into her cup and she just goes like this. Doesn't even look at the flight attendant. Obviously, the flight attendant is now helping the opposite aisle, so they're not facing us anymore. They're like facing this way. She's has her can out. And I'm just looking at her and I'm like, well, you're not even saying like, excuse me. Like, they don't know that you're trying to hand them something. So she then screams, hello. And the flight attendant obviously gets like stunned, looks over, and they're like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Like, can I help you with something? Is something wrong? She goes, I've been trying to give this to you. Can you take this out of my hand? What's wrong with you? Oh, the flight attendant looks, and again, because they're at work, so they can't answer this person the way that they would want to answer this person, but they do it very passive aggressively, just like I did when I first got into this flight. They look at her and was like, well, I have things in my hand. I'm helping somebody else, ma'am. Give me a second. She goes, no, take it from me now. Eee. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, fierce, I guess. Amazing. The flight attendant literally looks at her, rolls her eyes, continues to help the opposite end. She starts flipping out. She's like, hello. I told you to take the cam from me. And I'm like, okay. So I start looking at my friend and I start sending my friend my messages. And I was like, there's no way that this person is sane. There's no way. Not a sane, rational person would never act like this. This person either has a disability or they're high on drugs. This is what I Googled afterwards. I was like, or they're on some sort of drug. Like, I don't know what is happening, but I don't want to be the reason that a commotion happens on this flight. Because the one thing that I will never do, and I don't care how crazy things get, I will never get crazy in an airport or on a plane. Like, sorry. I know everybody was so upset with me that I didn't go crazy and we'll get there, but like, do you guys understand what a no-fly list is? Like, that is and I'm top contender to be on a no-fly list. Like, with my patience and my temper, I know that I can easily be on that on that list. So it takes a lot for me to say even anything negative or act any type of way on a plane or in an airport. Because I'm not about to take a donkey to Colombia. Like, be so for real. Like, I'm not going to do that. So the flight attendant obviously off. They take off their thing. They go. They continue on. And now she starts spitting. Just continues to spit on herself. Her legs are wet with spit. Like, just wet. And the first thing I thought of was maybe she has like that tobacco patch in her mouth, because I know that some people do that. They put the tobacco in their mouth, but usually you spit it out into a water bottle. But the spit wasn't brown. It was like spit. So I was like, okay, it's not the tobacco thing. Like, so I can't even be like, yo, you can't do that here. Like, that's insane. Fast forward to the flight attendant coming down the aisle to collect trash. And obviously they have their hands on their garbage can, and they're, maybe, do you have garbage? Do you have garbage? Do you have garbage? Do you have garbage? Goes over to my aisle. A lady doesn't even look at him. She goes, spits, because I think she meant to spit in like the hallway thing, spits on his hand. And I was like, oh, so now you get my pain. So now you understand my pain. Now you get it. And the guy stops. Literally stops what he's doing. He opens his eyes, like his facial expression literally turns to this, and he just looks at her, and she's not even looking at him, like not even the time of day. And he just like nods his head and throws the garbage bag down and walks to like wherever their cockpit is, and like I see him because we're at the front of the plane, take his things off, starts complaining about this lady. He's like, the lady just spit on me. What the fuck? Like, and now this lady has headphones in, so she can't hear him, but I can, because my headphones are not I put them off noise canceling, because I'm like, I need to hear what this man is saying. He's like, this lady just spit on me. What the fuck? Like, that's insane. Like, these people have no respect, no decorum, no third. And I'm like, I mean, he's not wrong. Whatever. But at least now he knows, right? Maybe he'll say something. Nope. Boom. She continues to spit. And now she's starting to spit this way. But this way is where I'm sitting. So now I'm getting spat on. Now I'm getting fully spat on. I'm like, and at the oh my God. Oh my God. The moment that I feel her bodily liquids hit my body, I yelped. I say, yet. I say, oh my God. And my friend Vanessa is like, stop. Like, she might have something. Stop. And I was like, I know. Like, I'm really trying not to say anything. Because at this point, I was completely convinced that this lady had a disability. I was completely convinced of it. Like, maybe her disability was being just a raging, but like, I was like, there is something wrong with this lady. There's something wrong with this lady. And I don't want to yell at her, because one, what if I get in trouble for even yelling at her? Two, what if like she does look at me and say, hey, I have this and this and this, you ass. hole, and now I'm a raging bitch. Like, I was just, and again, now I'm panicking because I have this stupid fucking bitch. I should have said something. And to this day, I regret this. I do regret it, but at the same time, I don't. Because then she just continues to spit, and now my legs are getting wet. And I'm starting to like fully, at this point, I don't even think I can say anything because I'm getting so nauseated that at this point, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I genuinely feel like I'm going to pass out. And I look at my friend and I turn white. Like, I'm literally turned whiter than what I am, bitch. And I'm already Casper the Ghost. Now imagine this even whiter. And I was like, I think I'm going to pass out. Or I'm going to throw up on myself. Like, I'm going to do one or the other. And immediately I get up, I run towards the bathroom, and I just start vomiting. I can't even begin to describe, like, I can't get past this story. And that's the one comment that I got on this TikTok, because I can't get past the story. It's so disgusting. I know. I lived it. I know. I need water. I'm like dying. This is like my worst nightmare come true. And also, spitting is one of the most disrespectful things that you could ever do. That's why, for me, in that moment, I was like, this has to be some sort of a disability, because spitting is literally harassment. Like, you can get arrested for that. Like, that is harassment. Or aggravated harassment. What is that? Assault? That's assault. Maybe got my things wrong. It's assault. It literally is assault. So that's why I'm like, there's no way that you're just doing this casually, like, and nobody has checked you in your 60-something years, because she looked like she was in her 60s. I was like, in your 60-something years, there's no way that somebody hasn't checked you for doing this. Like, and it's not some sort of a disability. So I go to the bathroom and I'm like vomiting my life away. And I'm trying I can't even like grab a paper towel to like clean it off, because that alone will gross me the out. So I'm putting my big juicy ass KFC thigh in that little ass sink, and I'm trying to just like water it. And it's not really working. So you can just imagine the picture of me and my thigh in a sink like this, trying to like pour the little water on it, because I can't even try to touch it. I opened the thing. The flight attendant is like, is everything okay? And I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment where I'm going to bug the out. And I look at them, and when I go to open my mouth, nothing comes out. Not one thing comes out. Because all I could think of was, I literally was just like, I was just in shock. Because I was like, if I say what's happening to me right now, I'm going to pass out. I'm fully going to pass out. And I was like, no, everything's okay. Everything is totally fine. Thank you so much for your service. All of a sudden, they're like veterans. Like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was like, I'm just having a really hard time. It's fine. Can I just get a water? Like, because at that point, what can they do? They can't switch my seats out. We're in the middle. We're in the air. They can't do anything. They could try to talk to this lady, but if they talk to this lady and she gets agitated with me, what if she just spits on my face? And if she spits on my face, I'm punching her in the face wholeheartedly, dead ass. And then I am no longer allowed to fly anywhere. Now I got to take a bus. I got to take a van. I got to take a donkey. I got to take a bird. What am I supposed to do? So I sit back down, and so passive aggressively, I rammed into that. I didn't even want to touch her, because that's how like disgusted I was with her. And like the way that she allowed herself to come out of the house smelling like that, one was already an insult, let alone now you're spitting on me. And I sat the rest of the flight there, literally basically on top of my friend, and she's just spitting and spitting and spitting and spitting and spitting. And I did talk to the flight attendant after, and I didn't put this in the TikTok. And they're like, was everything okay? Like, how was your flight? And I was like, it was terrible. I didn't realize when you say that, they have to like ask you why. Because they're like, why? And I was like, I had a lady spitting on me the whole time. Then I started uncontrollably crying. And it just was the worst thing. Even to this day, when I think about it, I know everybody's like, you should have stood up for yourself. And all the comments I got, it's like, you're weak. Shut the up. Like, at the end of the day, if we were in a restaurant, okay, and you're spitting on me, by all means, I'll leave the restaurant. If I get banned from the restaurant, there's thousands of other restaurants. But again, I don't ever cause scenes on airplanes or airports. And also on top of that, like, I genuinely couldn't speak with how disgusted and nauseated I was. Like, I'm not joking when I say like I am a really big germaphobe when it comes to certain things. And now everybody is when it comes to spit. Like, I can't even sit on a hotel bed without going into a state of shock and my body just freezes up. Like, it literally is like, I just turned to stone. So in those moments, I'm like, there was nothing I could say because my body wasn't even like, my body was trying not to process what was happening, because if it did, I promise you, they would have to put that airplane down. We would have to land wherever we were. I don't care if it was in the middle of the ocean. We would have to land because I would freak out. And I was trying my hardest to just keep my calm down because I was having a full-blown panic attack. I look at the lady and I asked the lady to like move in, because I'm like, excuse me, and doesn't look at me. And I yelled at the top of my lungs. I was like, excuse me. And she was like, ooh. I like frightened her. And then she got teary-eyed. And I was like, what is happening on this flight? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I genuinely think that's the one time that I yelled at her, because then I felt bad. Like, guys, I am also like an empathetic person. I don't want, like, I understand a lot of the stories that I have are me in a very aggressive like tone, but in moments like that, I'm like, this is an older woman. She's clearly by herself. I don't know where her family is. And I just yelled at her to be like, excuse me, because I was furious. My legs were soaked with her fucking spit. Like, what is wrong with you? And then she like got startled, and then she sat down and like kind of, oh my God, it was the saddest thing ever. And like, why do I even feel bad for you? You are an asshole. She just sat down, like, kind of a little teary-eyed. And I was like, honestly, I felt bad in the moment, but now that I think about it, like, low-key, you deserved it. You ruined my whole entire flight. Like, you made this experience so unenjoyable and so unpleasant and so traumatic, quite frankly. It was traumatic, that I really didn't care. I could have said so much more. But I got up, literally, I couldn't even sleep. Like, I couldn't even put my headphones in. I couldn't even watch a movie. Like, I just sat there in like disgust, and I literally watched, I was just getting traumatized more and more as like the spit just kept falling. And people on the opposite end, because she was spitting in the lane where everybody walks, they were looking at her crazy, and they were looking at me, and I was like, I don't know this woman. And some guy was like, what the is wrong? Like, what the And I was like, I don't know. Ask a flight attendant. I already, like, the flight attendant knows. They haven't even said anything. So maybe they have some, like, knowledge that we don't have on this woman as to why she's doing that. But at the end of the day, even if it is, and now that I look back at it, even if it is some sort of a disability, maybe, like, don't put them next to everybody, or give them your own row, or I don't know. I really don't know what best case scenario is to do there. But what I do know is, like, that wasn't okay. And when I posted the story on TikTok, a lot of the comments that I got were, again, it's like, oh, you're so weak. You should have stood up for yourself. Like, that's not okay. That lady should have got kicked off the flight. This and this and this. Like, next time you always stand up for yourself. Always. And I agree. I'm always the biggest advocate. I mean, come on. Like, there's way too many times that maybe I shouldn't even say anything. Like, that I stand up for myself a little bit too much. That now that I'm older, I kind of have to look at it and be like, not everything deserves a reaction, and I still fail sometimes. But in that certain situation, I was just so petrified that if I did say something, it was going to be this eruption of everything. And I was honestly so scared that I would never be put on a flight again. And that's why, again, even when there was the air conditioning thing, I just ate it. I was like, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to be one of those people that you see on TikTok or Instagram that start bugging out on flights and they have to get escorted out by the police, and now they're on a no-fly list. Like, I don't want to be one of those people, especially not at the airport. Now, if we're at the club, if we're at a restaurant, maybe if we're in church, I'll get crazy. And I know a lot of people are going to get mad at that, saying, oh, yeah, church is a holy place for you and for you. But as far as my holy place is the airport and in the plane. That's it. Like, that's the one place I would never, ever get crazy. And also maybe Hillstone might be my holy place too. I really like that place. I really do. That's one place I would never get banned at. Ooh. Well, we'll leave that for another episode for another time. Because that's another time that I should have bugged out too, and I didn't, because I was like, I can't get banned from this place. If there's any place that I know that I can get banned from, I mean, you could get banned from anywhere, but specific places that I would never, ever, I wouldn't be able to live. Like, I would probably have to fall on the ground and just die if I ever got banned from certain places. And one of them is probably like Hillstone, the restaurant, and airplanes. Like, no. Or airports. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Sorry, you got me up. Not gonna do it. I know everyone's so upset that I didn't react to her and I didn't look at her and say this, that, and the third to her. But I wasn't gonna do it. I'd rather endure 4 hours of pure misery and trauma than ever not be allowed to go to the Dominican Republic. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And no, I mean, I also didn't see, when she did get off the flight, she was just like completely incoherent. Like, she didn't even know where she was. And that kind of made me feel bad, that I was like, I don't think, now that looking back, I don't think it was necessarily a disability. I think it was, she might have been high on drugs or something, because we got off the plane and she's like, where the do I go? And I was like, girl, I think you need somebody. Like, I think you need somebody to help and assist you. And I didn't say this to her, obviously, because I'm not going to be the one to help you. You got me up. I'm getting away from you as quickly and as soon as possible. But we got off the flight. She's like, where the am I going? The flight attendants won't even help her, because, again, she just spat on all of them. And yeah, I don't know. That was like the most traumatizing thing that's probably ever happened to me. Well, no, not really, but the only ones that I can talk about on a podcast. But yeah, that was it was so disgusting. It was so, and when we got up, the most disgusting thing is when we got up, our seats were wet. Our seats were like wet. Like wet. And not because somebody passed themselves. It's because of her spit. And everybody around it noticed it. And that's how I knew she was alone, because not one person would say something. And then the reason too is because the aisle in front of me, not even in front of me, pardon, the aisle that was a little in front of me, but on the opposite end, they were like, we think she has a disability. It's a disability. Because then the kid was started, because kids have no filter. They're like, ew, she's spitting. And I was like, honestly, me. And her parents are like, stop. We think she might have a disability. Like, you don't want to embarrass people. Like, stop. And they're teaching their kid proper manners. The whole time I'm being like, let the kid say it. Let the kid say it. Please, somebody got to say it. We were all in unison of, we don't know what's wrong with this lady, so we're all not going to say anything. So we would all rather just sit in our misery than to say something, because in the case that something is wrong with this lady, we are going to look like assholes. And everybody just stayed quiet. So when everybody wants to be like, Emily, you're weak, my whole section was weak, all right? The section let everybody down. We were all looking at each other like for 4 hours, mind you. Like, is this for real? Even the flight attendant, it's like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And turns out there is a way. So I don't know. I Googled it afterwards, and I guess it could be a form of Tourette's. I'm not sure, because she also was like speaking gibberish to herself and like acting very sporadically and very kind of, I don't know. So it could have been a disability, but it also could have been that she was just high on methamphetamine, which is what I Googled. It was either meth, heroin, or a disability. And in which case, if it was drugs and I said something, the last thing I want to mess with is a drug head, like a drug addict. That's the last thing I want to deal with, is dealing with a drug addict in 10,000 feet in the air. Be so for real. Like, somebody be so for real. And I understand whenever I tell these stories, people obviously feel their own way about it and they kind of insert their own feelings. But I promise you, we all would have done the same thing. Everybody would have done the same thing. You don't know what's happening. And yeah, after that, I don't think I've been on a flight since then. I don't think. No, I haven't. That was the last flight. I'm going on a flight this weekend though. And hopefully I don't get anybody that's like gonna spit on me, because that was my main thing. Like, she was spitting on like this side of my leg, like over here. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna look. But I did say, like, if she were to spit, like, it's different. If she were to spit in my face, again, it's completely different. I don't know what I would have done if I got spit on my face. I don't deal with spit. Like, that's the highest form of disrespect ever. Even if when you're fighting with somebody and you spit at someone, you are the worst possible human to ever exist. Like, easy. And I've gotten spit at before. Like, it's not cute. You don't look cute. It's not badass. Like, oh yeah, I spit at her. No, you're nasty. You're nasty and you're gross. Like, that is just not cute. I don't think I had any prior brief with this woman to spit on me, so I'm just going to take it as it was a disability and I handled it the way that I wanted it to. But yeah, that was probably the most disgusting that's ever happened to me. And I don't know what it is about being the worst thing. I can deal with like airport drama. That's fine. Dealing with in-flight drama is the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, because you could raise your voice, and I've seen it before where, like, for example, on the Bahamas thing, people had to get escorted out by the police because of how rowdy they were getting. And it wasn't like they were being wrong. Like, they were well within their right to freak out. We've been in a hot metal tube for the last hour. Like, there's babies on there, there's children on there. Like, there's no reason, and it got very, very hot in there. So I understand that. But I've also seen them getting walked out police escort style. Like, I don't want that either. All I can say is there's always a time and place, and there's a couple places that you should never bug out on. And it's never the airport and the plane, definitely being like top 2 on my list. Like, that is not somewhere you want to create a scene. And I've done that before, and I've had to check myself, because they will easily threaten you with the, okay, we could ban you then. And you don't want to deal with that. That's the last thing you want to deal with. But hopefully, not hopefully, let me not put that out there. I know future flights won't be like that. But I know that in a case that something were to go down, where another incident occurs on a flight, I'm totally okay. I've dealt with like the worst of the worst. I don't think it gets worse than somebody spitting on you for 4 hours. I don't think it does. Unless you guys have a story, in which case I would love to hear it. But I really don't think it gets worse as somebody. And me, honestly, I was so disappointed in myself that I let her spit on me. But again, I'm okay with that. It's totally fine. It is what it is. I'd rather have that happen than me look like an ass of outing somebody's disability or outing the fact that you're high on drugs, in which case that's crazy. That's crazy, and that can get scary very quickly. But if you guys have any in-flight horror stories or even airport horror stories, because I have a plethora of them, I would love to hear them in the comments below. It's crazy. I'm like traumatized. Even when I talk about it, like I have to like give myself a breather. Even when I made the TikTok, I had to like breathe, because I was like, this is a little too much for me. But yeah, thanks for watching the episode, guys. That was my in-flight horror stories. I would love to hear yours. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do your big one. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. And for those of you wondering, I did an everything shower after that. I exfoliated my whole entire life away. I think I have like, my skin was red with how much I had to exfoliate. Like, I'm pretty sure I peeled off a whole layer of skin off of that after that experience, because I wasn't either that or I was gonna burn myself. Like, I wasn't gonna live with that. I couldn't live with that I didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to die so bad, but it's okay. We're fine now. I'm pretty sure I have brand new skin, so it's good. Well, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.